Travis the chimp attacked and ate a woman's face off and turned her into this. Trigger warning is pretty graphic. You can find her before and afters online. Okay, so boom. Travis the chimp was adopted for $50,000 by a couple, Sandra and Jerome Harold. They got him when he was just 3 days old and raised him in Stamford, Connecticut. But they didn't raise him like a pet or exotic animal. They raised him like he was a human. This chimpanzee drunk wine, drove cars around the block where residents could see him, watched TV, he cooked. He was popular with residents, including officers, and when he played with kids, he even knew how much strength to use without hurting them. Travis was also an animal actor that appeared in commercials. He was loved and a local celebrity, but everything changed when eventually Jerome Harold, the husband and animal dad, passed away to stomach cancer. They also lost their real human daughter to a car crash 4 years prior. Now, Sandra, the animal mom, was left alone with Travis, and they only had each other. Sandra gave him the finest foods and made him drink wine in tall stem glasses. They took baths together and cuddled in the bed that they shared, so they slept together. Eventually, as Travis got older, around 14 years old, which is a fully grown chimpanzee, the older he got, the more aggressive and defiant he got and was harder to control him. Travis had the strength of 5 adult human men at his big age. In Connecticut, you're actually not supposed to own a chimpanzee over 50 pounds. Travis was over 50 pounds, but of course, law enforcement, well, they didn't enforce anything because, again, Travis was a star and a local celebrity. Now in comes Charla, who was Sandra's good longtime friend who was paid to help look after Travis. This is before Travis completely attacked, mauled, and ate her face. But as you can see, she knew Travis ever since he was little, so most of his life. One day, Travis was all over the place and a bit jittery, so Sandra, the chimp's human mom, gave him some Xanax to help him calm down. She then called Charla, her good friend, to come over and help calm Travis down as well. Unfortunately, all hell broke loose, like for part 2. Once Charla arrived, Travis the chimp had taken his human mom Sandra's car keys and was leaving, because remember, this was a driving chimpanzee. To stop Travis from leaving and get him back into the house, Charlotte took Travis's favorite toy, which was a Tickle Me Elmo. She waved his favorite toy, the Elmo doll, to get his attention, but unfortunately, she definitely got his attention in a bad way. Travis the chimp flew into a rage and started violently mauling and attacking Charla and eating part of her face. Sandra, the mom, saw the attack by Travis on her friend and tried to stop Travis by stabbing him multiple times with a butcher knife. But he didn't stop. He kept on attacking Charla. Sandra then called 911 in her car. This is why you shouldn't have exotic animals as pets, part 3. Okay, so boom, like I said, Sandra called 911. When the cops arrived on the scene, Travis then ran to the cop car and tried to open the door. When the door wouldn't open, he started hitting the car, and that's when the cops went ahead and shot him multiple times. This is where Travis went back into the house and died in front of his cage. But this just showed you how strong he was after being stabbed multiple times and shot multiple times. He still had the strength to walk into the house and then die in front of his cage. Charla was airlifted to a hospital, and by a miracle, she survived. He ripped off her eyelids, tore off her nose, gouged out and ate her eyes, and almost tore one of her arms off. Charla's jaw was entirely dislocated, and she was left brain damaged and permanently blind with no hands or fingers. She sued and ended up getting $4 million. She underwent face transplant surgery. Unfortunately, Charla's new hands and fingers was rejected by the body, but fortunately, her face transplant was a success. Sandra, the chimp's mom, who lost now her chimpanzee, her husband, and her daughter, passed away a few months later due to an aneurysm. A brain aneurysm, to be exact. Leave the exotic animals alone, guys.
Am I wrong for not inviting my sister and her kids to Disney with my brother and his kids because I know she can't afford it? I haven't taken my kids on a real vacation since pre-pandemic, but now that we are all vaccinated, I want to take them to Disneyland. My brother Jack, whose kids are about the same age as mine, feel the same. Disneyland is expensive. The trip will cost about $8,000 for each family. My brother and I both have great jobs, so the money is not a struggle for us. My sister Jane is always talking about how broke and underpaid she is and complaining about her student loans. I don't know her salary, but she's a social worker, so I know it's not a ton. Well, my brother and I figured she wouldn't be able to afford it based on a couple of weeks ago when we brought up the idea of a vacation at a Labor Day cookout, and she just went on about how she wishes she could afford a family vacation. Well, since she said she couldn't, we just didn't invite her and planned a trip with our wives and our kids. This weekend, people were over and my nephew, Jack's son, brought up how excited he is for Disney, to which Jane asked about and the details came out. And then Jane got all mad for not getting invited. I told her I didn't invite her because she literally said she couldn't afford a vacation. She then said that I was rubbing it in that we make more money than her and that we could have covered part of her trip and then had a real family vacation with everyone. I just felt that as we're all adults with our own families, we're past the age that I'd be subsidizing her for anything that's not an emergency.
Am I the bad apple for missing my daughter's birth? I, male 28, have a beautiful wife 27. When my wife found out she was pregnant, we were thrilled and we've been getting prepared for months now. Now, my dad is a real jerk. But he's my dad and he keeps me employed. He owns a pretty nice Italian restaurant that's been run by my family for decades. I've worked there since I was about 15 and now I'm the head chef. I was in the middle of a very hectic shift on the busiest day of the week when my mother-in-law called me saying my wife went into labor and I needed to get to the hospital right away. I go to ask my dad if he can leave and he said,
"You can go if you're okay with being unemployed."
I couldn't risk that. If I lost my job, what would we do? My dad insisted that we were way too understaffed and he really needed my help and I couldn't leave. I tried to call my mother-in-law, but she wouldn't pick up, so I just kept working and thought I could explain myself later.
Am I wrong for literally showing my dad how he behaves every day when he gets home from work? I, female 16, have a father 46 who is the breadwinner while my mom is a stay-at-home mom. She handles everything around the house like cooking, mopping, washing, laundry, etc. I'm the oldest and I try to help, but there's really only so much that I can do while my dad just gets home at the end of the day and literally complains about everything, like how the carpet isn't clean or how the food is cold. As a result, I'd have to listen to huge arguments daily between him and my mom. It's exhausting, but honestly, I think my dad is just in the wrong here. I tried talking to him to get him to see his behavior, but to no avail. So what I did was pick a day off for him and pretend to act like him. I put together an outfit that looked like a suit and put black tape over my lips to look like a mustache. At 6 p.m., I went inside the house. I shouted, "I'm home!" Then sat next to him in the living room and started kicking my shoes while complaining about the state of the house at the top of my lungs. He glanced at me confused, asking what I was doing. I ignored him, then started yelling about the carpet being dirty, shower not ready, and the kids needing to be quiet and so on. He kept staring while my mom and siblings laughed. My youngest brother pointed towards me saying, "This is daddy." I then proceeded to yell about dinner, then berated my mom for not preparing it before time. My dad stopped me in a serious tone and asked what I was doing. I turned to him and said, "What? Can't a man effing rest after working long hours?" In the most macho voice I could muster. My dad got the hint because this was a common phrase he uses daily. He went quiet and avoided looking at me. I stopped the act and I told him that I was trying to show him what he's like every day when he comes home from work. He said nothing, just went outside and refused to speak to me. Later, he went on about how I mocked and invalidated him, that he does work hard and me doing this was disrespectful and invalidating. My mom said it was funny, but also thought that I hurt my dad's feelings and I could have gotten the message across in some other way. So, am I in the wrong here?